What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, looking at some brand new Altergeist support coming out in extreme force, and I've actually looked at these cards. I think that the new Link monster is very solid. If you guys don't know what Altergeist is, maybe you don't watch Vrain, shout out to Ghost Girl. It's basically a new archetype. It's coming out in Circuit Break. It's going to be Link based, obviously, and it's very unique because as of right now, the archetype doesn't have any confirmed spells, if I'm not mistaken. Everything kind of revolves around the traps, and the traps can activate, then they equip to the monsters, and then when they go to the graveyard, they have additional effects that can kind of protect your Altergeist monsters. So it's a very unique deck, and it's got some weird little quirky things like a monster that is a monster that can bounce stuff, and you can use it on the traps and whatnot. So let's go ahead and look at these cards, and I gotta let you guys know, I'm not like an Altergeist expert. Actually, on my last stream, I got completely trolled and smashed by the deck, and I was like, whoa, this deck actually has some plays. It has a continuous Divine Wrath, which I think is actually freaking crazy, and I went ahead and I looked up some of the other cards so I could kind of get a feeling for the archetype. But the Link monster is Altergeist Hexstia, and this is a Link 2 Fire Spellcaster, which actually reminds me of like Fire Princess. The Link points are to the right and pointing straight down, so I would imagine you want to summon this to the left extra monster zone if possible, and it requires 2 Altergeist monsters. I know they already have a Link 3 that requires 2+ Altergeist monsters. Let's see, you can only use the third effect of this card's name once per turn, so that is the hard once per turn. This card gains attack equal to the combined attack of all Altergeist monsters this card points to, so that's not actually that bad, especially because it's pointing down, so hopefully you have another Altergeist monster on the field. From what I've seen, most of the main deck monsters are like 15, 1600, somewhere around that, so, well, actually I've got a couple of zeros in here. Okay, I guess it's actually just one net 1600. Looks like there's like 800 and whatnot. So if you get the 1600 on the field, I would imagine that's pretty decent because then you have a 3100 attack monster. I think the more important effect is the second effect. I read this and I was like, whoa, this is actually pretty damn powerful. When a spell/trap card or a spell/trap effect is activated, this is a quick effect, you contribute 1 Altergeist monster. This card points to negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. So that's pretty powerful. That's negating any spell or trap your opponent activates or the effect of a spell or trap. Now it does come at the cost of basically losing a little bit of stats. You lose your attack value because you don't have that monster linked anymore, but that's not a once per turn effect, and that does seem pretty powerful. Now the third effect I like because I like any time that a monster replaces itself. It says if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, that means if you kaiju my shit, I get the effect as well. You can add 1 Altergeist card from your deck to your hand. So this card does float upon its death, and that's actually pretty good because if you happen to use this to go into another Altergeist Link monster, that means that you will activate the effect as well. That's the only once per turn effect. This seems like overall a pretty good card as long as you can kind of keep it protected because its stats aren't that high. If you have one of the 800 monsters, that's only 2300, but 2300 for a Link 2 is, I would say it's not that bad. That's kind of like the norm. The norm is low 2000s. Then we have Altergeist Materialization. This is a normal trap. The second effect is the hard once per turn. Activate this by targeting 1 Altergeist monster in your graveyard, special summon it in attack position, and if you do equip it with this card, when this card leaves the field, destroy the equipped monster. So basically it's a Call of the Haunted, but just specifically for Altergeist. Outside of that, I really don't know what else to compare it to. It's just a Call of the Haunted, essentially. The second effect says you can banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 Altergeist trap in your graveyard, and you can add that trap to your hand. So that's really cool because if this card's in the graveyard, it basically is just a +1. You can grab your continuous Divine Wrath, get it back for free. If your opponent gets you with an early Twin Twister, that definitely hurts you. It doesn't really matter because this card in the graveyard can, you know, basically pay for itself. So you might not even take any negs. And the cool thing about Altergeist is since their traps, since a couple of their traps actually equip to monsters, they can kind of use that for other cards. I believe it's Let me see if I can actually find the monster right here. No. This is the one. This is the Altergeist monster that can actually return one other Altergeist card to the hand, and then you target a card your opponent controls and return it to the hand. So as you equip your traps to the monsters, you can actually bounce those traps back to your hand, and then you can, like, you know, potentially bounce something important on your opponent's side of the field as well. Maybe like a Link monster, or maybe just one of their problem extra deck cards or something like that. So I think that the Call to Haunted is okay. I mean, probably no reason to run Call to Haunted in this deck, since this just seems to be a more superior version. But I think the more important thing is they have a pretty solid Link monster. As long as you can keep it protected, don't let it get ran over by battle. Even if it does get destroyed by battle, it will pay for itself. So we'll have to see where this archetype goes, and if the archetype is going to be like Paleo, if it's going to be nothing but traps, because as of right now, it does definitely look that way. Anyways, whatever you guys think about Altergeist, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching as always, and subscribe if you have not already.